Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Inkylesconvo. Now today we have like a guest that from what he does is like so admirable, and the articles that will be linked in the description and various other social media, and also how to get in touch with Chris and all this sort of stuff. But it's Christopher McEwen. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, my friend, and you?
I'm good, yeah, I'm good. Now, before all this, again, it's so admirable what you do, like working with disabled people and promoting and everything like that. But I want to know, where did this all start? Like, what made you want to get involved in, the industry you're involved in?
I've been involved with boxing for the best part of 30 years, and I had my own accident a few years ago. I've always been involved with my local boxing club, which left me disabled. So I went from being involved with training to fundraising, trying to get to a position where we could move to a better facility. But once I started doing that, I then started off volunteering myself out because I couldn't get any work at that moment in time. And I volunteered myself to local bespoke groups. And I was helping some women, some elderly men, start with cognitive movement skills. And it just expanded from there. I've not created this. This is by no means my baby. The disability boxing has been going on for donkey's years. I'm ex-forces, and when people look back, one of the key sports within the armed forces is boxing. So in the Second World War and the Vietnam War, people would use boxing as a rehabilitation method for sort of basic cognitive movement skills. There was a gentleman called Inkylesconvo in 2010, and he was one of the first people on social media to do a boxing event in a wheelchair, and that was based in America. So it's one of these things that's been going on for years. So once I started to get involved with it, there's an organisation called Disability Sports Wales, and I got my boxing club involved with that. And then there's an award process that you go through, the more inclusive that you become. So I then started opening my doors, working with more people, young children, young adults, and it's just grown. It's just grown since then. From that now, every Thursday, I run a free disability boxing service for juniors, seniors. We have up to about 70 people turn up from all abilities. We've created our sister company, which is Great Britain Disability Boxing. And what we're looking to do is supporting other amateur boxing clubs to become more inclusive. But more importantly, I work with a lady called Louise Fay. And if you haven't seen her, check her out. Honestly, what the work she does, she is phenomenal. So she does a lot of our social media, online boxercise sessions. She's also got her own boxing organisation that she's called Chronic Warriors. She's been on telly with Judy Murray recently with that Driving Force. She's a regular with the lunchtime show on Channel 4. So she's better with media presence. I'm just good with the community.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you were saying that you were involved in boxing. As long as you don't mind me asking this question, you were saying you were involved in boxing, but you had an accident. Was that when you were fighting, or was that just like
no, Christ, no. No, so I've done 10 years in the armed forces. I've done 2.5 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. And like I say, come out of that unscathed, not a problem. But to be fair, I was a chef. So I didn't really see too much from that side of it. So so I was there supporting the boys and girls on the ground, but again, amazing life experience. I then came out, I'd done a numerous amount of jobs, but I worked for a gas company. I had an accident at work, which has left me with my right leg being damaged. So it's one of those things happens. I was diagnosed not long after that with bipolar as well. So I had to balance that with it. But I've got a fantastic family. I got fantastic help, and I was able to like channel myself, create, and then what I've done is create my own role for myself. So I don't just do like the boxing within the club, I do boxing within schools. I'm one of the only coaches in Wales who teaches disability boxing in a disability mainstream school. That school is called Portfield, which is the largest disability school in Pembrokeshire. I get the pleasure of teaching in there. I also teach in 5 other schools, and it's growing. We also do police programs, and we work with young offenders. We work through children who've been involved or seen abuse. So there's so many aspects that you can do with boxing. It knows no bounds.
I think the thing that is more admirable about it as well is that there's a lot of people that try and, obviously, try and be the next Floyd Mayweather, try and be this, try and be that, but then injure themselves. Even, I know he didn't injure himself now, but injure themselves while they're fighting, and then completely leave, like, I'm just going to stop this, I'm going to get, but you were, you injured yourself, and then you just kept, like, obviously you were still enticed, is it? And indoctrinated with it? I think that's what that big confusing word that people say all the time. That one, you were still in it effectively, but was there that ever hope that you were going to go like, probably yes, but was there that ever hope that you were going to go that far?
When I boxed in the forces, it is fair to say it could have gone one or two ways. And for me, it went the latter way. And it went the way that I enjoyed my social life more. I enjoyed going out with the lads. And as a very young man, I should have taken the opportunities that were given to me. So I've probably looked back at my career, or lack of that boxing career, and turned around and said, well, do you know what? I want to give other people those opportunities, and help support and push them. And even if it isn't for somebody that they want to get to that level, that they wanted to compete, we offer the opportunities to support other people within the community. And like I say, and that is what boxing does. I mean, within our club, I mean, again, it's worth a Google. So Pembroke Boxing Club, we've had a fantastic run of boxers, from Scott Gammer, one of the last heavyweight champions, who's come out of Wales. We've had people go in and represent Great Britain, Charlotte Jones. We've got Mickey Madonna, and he's looking about potentially going pro. And we've got a lovely stream of amateur boxers. But as well as that, we work with our inclusion, and we work. So in my club, I've got kids who are fighting cancer. I've got lower limb amputee, upper limb amputee. I've got blind, I've got deaf, I've got Down syndrome, I've got cerebral palsy. Just a long range of different disability. But what's so joyful about it, I don't know any other sport where you can have such a collective of disabilities doing the same sport at the same time. And that's what boxing brings.
Yeah, so as well, it would help them combat stuff, because they're just trying to better them all the time. I mean, you get people that like, that have disabilities that go to the gym and lift weights, but then if they can't lift that weight, and I've seen it when I used to have to train at public gyms, when they can't lift that certain weight, it hits home a lot when you see them, and they get so frustrated in that. But at boxing, you're just trying to better yourself all the time. There's that difference between it a little bit, if that makes sense.
Well, the big one for me, getting involved with inclusion, is that once you start getting involved with that disability community, you see how far we go down on the pecking order regarding society, life, how opportunities, because as soon as some people hear the word disability, they hear the dis and not the ability, and like I try to explain to so many people, is that when we're born, we don't choose the vessel that we're born into, whether you're male, female, disabled, abled. It is just a luck of the draw. So somebody who's born with a disability doesn't know anything more different than what I know about being short and bold, or a woman being a woman. It is one of those things. So society will look at somebody with a disability and they think, oh, do you know what, we'll just wrap them up in cotton wool and then we'll put them in a box and then we'll make sure that they're safe at all times. And they're just denied so many different opportunities. So that's why in my boxing club, as long as I've got air in my lungs and keys to that door, people with disabilities will always be allowed to train in my club for free because of the sheer lack. I give you a prime example. So, and this ain't blowing my own trumpet. So last year I got coach of the year. At the same time, a good friend of mine, Angelo Giacconi, was having what could have been either the making of his career of boxing or it ended up being his retirement fight. But he had this big fight in Cardiff. He'd come down, he supported me with inclusion. He's an amazing man, again, worth a Google. And he had this big fight and he helped me arrange some toy tickets. So I said to my guys, my whole club, as an absolute treat, because of COVID, we haven't been able to compete and be able to go out, do all this. My treat to you, I'm going to pay for 2 coaches, one coach being completely accessible for some of our chair users. And then I'm going to send all of you guys to go and watch Angelo fight. So with that, on the Thursday, I've got 2 gentlemen. So one gentleman, he's severely autistic. He's handsome bugger. He really, really is. He's in his early 30s and he is the image of Rocky Marciano. But he's almost got the innocence of a child, you know? So that's not me saying he's got the mental age of a child, but you can see that learning where he is. And then my other gentleman, and with him, he's got Tourette's, but with his Tourette's, he ticks. So he doesn't swear, he'll just rotate his head round. And so if he feels uncomfortable or in certain situations. But both of those men love boxing. And they were the 2 people that I could not wait to give these tickets to. And just before they turned up, I said to their carers, because I also paid for the carers to go with them. And I said, listen, I can't be there because of such and such, but I've got X amount of coaches. I've done all the risk assessments. I've been in contact with the stadium. We've got a disability area. All the boxers can go there. I've got 2 tickets for me guys. And they turned around and went, we don't like boxing. I went, well, it's not for you. And I said, I've got your tickets to go with them. And they said, oh, we don't mind bringing them here for the hour, but no, I ain't going to something that's about 3 or 4 hours. And I'm like, come on. No, weren't interested. So they missed out. And that's what I'm getting to, is that those are the silly little things that we take for granted, where you could turn around and phone up your buddy now and turn around and say, do you fancy going for a quick jar? Unless some people with a disability has got their carer or parent or guardian with them, they miss out. So they end up going straight into that care system. So we've got some big things going on within our club at the moment. So one of the things that we've got coming through now is, so I've been working with this organization. It looks like they're going to be getting planning permission. They're going to support our project. I can't say the sum of the money, but they're going to be giving, but they're going to be investing to support our project. My facility is huge. So we're going to extend our back room, so it's going to be fully accessible to people with disabilities. It's already accessible to disabilities. We're just going to make it a larger venue. We're going to extend our weight space so more people can get in there as well. But what's more exciting is we've got this part of the building that we're going to turn into a disability sports cafe. So we've been working with our local councils, the government, we've been working with supermarkets, and what we're going to do is anybody with a disability will be able to come in, do an 8-week working program, and they will get paid basic minimum wage. So, and it doesn't matter what your ability, you'll be able to come into this cafeteria. Within this cafe, it's going to be an honesty cafe. So you can pay 20 pence to £2 for a panini, or you can have it for free. Totally up to you. And that's between 9 and 5. Now, between the hours of 5 and 9 at night, we're going to turn it into munch, and we are going to support our local community because where our boxing club is situated, it's in quite a deprived area, and I've got quite a bugbear regarding food and nutrition. I mean, you look at it, when we were kids, I mean, especially, I mean, I'm much older than you, so when we was younger, is that you look at the convenience foods and the takeaway, they just wasn't there. So for me, you look at children and young adults now, they're huge. But we're not just talking about obesity, we're talking about height, growth. I mean, boys, lads were never built like that when we were kids. Dear God, no. You know, they're huge.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I'm working in the schools, there's some kids in there, they've got beards, and they're like that 12. I'm like that. A, it's not fair, and B, how does that work? You know? And I'm a big believer it's down to the food and what we consume. Because mum and dad both work now, and it's too easy to go for that convenience model where it's pre-packed, bung it into the oven, bake it in half an hour, boom, it's done, or it's in a jar and a sauce, compared to everything was fresh when we were younger. So between the hours of 5 and 9, families will be able to get either a food ticket from the local council, from the leisure centre or the boxing club, and come in and have a free, nutritious meal with their family. And then from 9 o'clock until 6 in the morning, we're going to turn it into a homeless bakery, because we do a lot of work with the homeless Pembrokeshire. And then we're going to target certain sites and collect so many people. They will come in, they were doing an 8-week working program again. And with that, we'll be in contact with other like bakeries or whatever to try and push them on to further employment afterwards, after they've got their qualification. But they'll come in, they'll get cleaned up, and then they will bake the breads and the cakes for the following day. And then they will be able to get showered and cleaned. The Paul Sartori have offered to give us free clothing, so they can have new threads to feel fresh, or they can have their clothes washed, given back to them. Our local college is going to be working with us, and they're going to send hairdressers so they can give them a trim, tidy them up. They can go downstairs. And like I say, they'll do the breads and cakes for the following day. And right at the back of us, we've got a piece of land, and we're going to have raised beds, and we're going to turn it into our community farm. So whatever gets grown there goes back into the cafe, or we support our local community. And that is what we're doing in my little club.
Yeah, I'm a little bit I'm a little bit speechless, if I'm being honest. Very rarely do I get. It's funny, if anybody that was in my house right now would laugh at me saying me speechless, but it's I don't know. As weird as it sounds, I don't know what to say. It's so admirable. It's the thing that's more respectable about it as well is that, again, it's you're doing this because like you genuinely want to give. There's no like profit margin. There's nothing like that. That's the worry about a lot of things. It's literally all about because you want to help people in deprived area. You want to help people in your. I am speechless, especially when you were saying about the disabled thing. I know that from having a few situations of knowing some autistic people that they've had that as well, especially when we used to go swimming I'm 27, so I'm not that old, but I do consider myself a little bit older. And when I was younger, that they weren't allowed to go swimming unless they had that person there. It's a shame. It is a shame, but
it's true. It's true. And those people that when they go to a leisure centre, they've got to pay twice. So the person that's doing the activity and the carer has to pay as well. And it's like, how's that fair? You know, and don't get me wrong, for me, the 2012 Olympics in Britain and the Paralympics really, it highlighted a lot of sport and disability. And it was good. But it's one of those things, because it only comes around once every 4 years. When it's on, everyone's like, yeah, that's great. And then when it goes quiet, nothing. You know, I mean, one of the best shows on telly, Last Leg, I absolutely adore it. And the fact that it stayed as long as it has, and it's now mainstream, amazing, amazing. But when you start working within schools, especially COVID, so when COVID hit and they started like breaking it down to what kids can and cannot do, what would happen is that when the kids were told, right, you're not allowed to do exercise inside the building, but you can go outside and play football and play rugby. So the kids would go outside, and the kids with disabilities would be brought out with their carers, but because there wasn't enough PED staff to work with them as well, they just watched the kids. And you're like, how's that fair? So, and that's how I got into the schools doing boxing. So I went in there as a sort of an open day, and then there was some guys there with disabilities. And I said, can I do some sessions with them? Oh, we don't know. I said, listen, I'll do it completely for free. I said, it is not a problem at all. I'll come in before school, after school, or do it in their break time. I said, but every kid should enjoy sport, you know? And the school's been fantastic, so supportive. So from that, I do I do inclusion training sessions on a Wednesday and a Friday, and like say Thursday in Portfield. It's amazing, but we're just giving those kids back opportunities. And one of the things that we've passed with the school, that this summer we're going to host our own Paralympics in the school, and we're going to get the mainstream able-bodied kids doing the disability sports. So putting a complete spin on it.
Yeah, having them literally mixing together, yeah, which will make, you know, make everybody feel better and feel easier. And, you know, because I can imagine, you know, if you're different from the rest of the people, it's like, for example, you said overweight. I used to be 24.5 stone, so I know what it's like to be like, I don't mind saying, I was a big dude. And when that is true, fat's a way. I call myself that, so it's fine. But
you've done amazing, my friend.
I appreciate. There was 12 stone in like 16 months or something like that. I lost. It was a couple of years ago now, but to go
That's
from
outstanding.
that, I appreciate that. I remember those days when you were literally like different. Obviously, you're still the same, but your class is different because you look different than all the, you know, skinnier people. And I knew how intimidating it was being around people like that. So I can just imagine how hard it is for people along those lines as well. But you were saying about you know, a TV show and that, and it just clicked in my head a minute there. It seems like what you're doing, not a TV, because obviously TV show, it's hard nowadays with it all being online and things like that, but it seems like what you're doing should be like, I mean, you could document the process in like a YouTube channel, get everybody involved, make them like, you know, I'm sure it's just something, obviously I'm guessing there'd have to be some sort of like permissions. I'm not sure how that works with like the, you know, the care side of things, but might be an idea. They might, you know, it would be impressive to see like the beginning, middle, and end and stuff like that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I sent you some of like say the videos from last year, and please don't see that that's not out of vanity or anything. What we achieved last year had nothing to do with me. Those kids achieved that, not me. I'm the lucky one. I can tell you now, whenever I turn up at that gym, I get more from it than what they do. You know, I'm lucky to be in their company. I mean, that's what I say about the healing of boxing. One of the girls we've got who turns up on our Thursday on our inclusion session, she's now started coming to our Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and that's the amateur boxing. And she's only 12, and she's one of those kids. You'll get some kids that want to do sport, and they do okay, and you get some kids who just shine at it, you know. And for somebody to come into it like she has, you look at her and you think, oh my God, she's got it. Oh, she's got it. You know, you give her a command and she just picks it up like that. Her footwork, her movement, her hand speed is absolutely on point. It's phenomenal. And I turned around and said to her, oh, we've got to get you carded. I said, come on. I said, you're the next Katie Taylor. easily. And she was giggling. And she went, I can't. I said, why? Why can't you? And she went, I've been fighting cancer all my life. She said, I was born with cancer and I've been fighting cancer all my life. I went, don't ever let anybody tell you can't do something. I said, I'm sure if we talk with your doctors, we talk with your mum, I said, but don't give up on boxing. I said, because whether you get involved to compete, I said, or teach, I went, you have got a gift, young lady. I went, what do you think about when you hit the bag? And she went, if I tell you, she went, do you promise not to tell me off? I said, yeah, okay. She went, I'm going to swear. I went, okay, I won't tell you off. She went, don't tell my mum. So I won't tell you, mum. And she turned around, she went, whenever I hit the bag. And that for me, that just summed it, you know, that's a child coming out with that. And then I've got another girl who's turning up this Thursday. So currently she's going to college, which is a star college in England. And it's the same college that Katie Price's son goes to. I can't remember what he's called. And
Harvey,
basically,
that's
Harvey, that's right. Shannon. So her mum brings Shannon in. So Shannon, when she was a little girl, absolutely fine little girl. She was 12, I think she was 12, 13, but she was involved in a hit and run, and the bloke just left her for dead. So when she was picked up and she was taken into hospital, they basically said to mum that she's severely brain damaged. So she's now in a chair. She can only use like her left-hand side, no speech. So she uses a speak and spell to communicate. So she comes into her electric wheelchair, and her mum turned around and said, can she watch? I said, with her strong hand, I went, can we put a glove on her? And so she typed in, oh, yes, please. I went, yeah, okay. So puts a glove on her, puts a pad on. I went, can you hit there? She went, bam, there, bam, there, bam. I went, don't let anybody ever tell you can't do something. And now she's like, every time she's away, she's forever messaging, I can't wait to get back to boxing, can't wait to get back to boxing. And it's just joy. I cannot praise boxing enough. I just absolutely adore the sport of not how, I mean, you look at the weekend, Amir Khan and Kell Brook, amazing night of boxing, but how it works within my community. We do a lot of work within knife crime and working with gangs. So we're encouraging gangs to put down knives. We do a lot of talks within that. We've dispersed 2 big gangs in Pembroke due to our boxing program with the police, which has been phenomenal. We're just about to start our residential program, where we'll go into residential homes. And I did a little stint back when I was struggling. And for me, anybody who's worked in an old people's home or care home, one of the biggest things people need is company, you know, because otherwise they're just stuck in it all day long. The only thing they look forward to is meal times, you know. So with our boxing program, we're going to take so many coaches in, so many kids in, and we're going to do a little bit of boxing, and then an opportunity for the young people to speak with the elderly. And it's getting that relationship back with the young and the old, like, you know. And we've called that boxing program Golden Gloves. So we've got that being rolled out soon. So there's no ends to where boxing could go. Love it.
So my question to you, right, is that I know obviously we're taking the facility and things like that, but would you be willing to take it out of Pembroke and then put it, for example, obviously I stay in Scotland, as you can probably tell, but would you be willing to maybe use your model for other, not countries, but for just now, but for other cities and places like take it to other cities and this is what we do, this is how we do it and things like that?
Well, that's what we want to do with Great Britain Disability Boxing. Is I don't want to turn around and say that if you want to do any form of boxing programs, the only place you could do that is Pembrokeshire. I want to help as many organisations become more inclusive. When lockdown hit us and we couldn't use the gyms, we turned our gym into a food bank and we helped our local community. And one of the other things I did was, again, when you're working with amateur boxing clubs, not all, but I would say a lot, is run by not dinosaurs, that's the wrong word, but old school boxing coaches, you know, who just want to go in, get into the thick of it. And when it comes to applying for grants or funding, a lot of them struggle. So one of the things that we've done in lockdown is we created this group chat on WhatsApp, and I'm not even clever, not by a long shot, you know, I'm thick as mince, but I filmed myself applying for grants to help other organizations to apply for grants, you know. So with the police program, again, I would help any amateur boxing club. I would get in contact with their local constabularies or say, well, this is what we've done in Wales. You've got this club here. This is what you can do, you know? And the same goes for inclusion. So when you turn around and go, I'm in Scotland, one of my first bases was RAF Lossiemouth. So I was based in Scotland for 5 years. There's a gentleman I'm messaging a lot at the moment. I'm sure his name's Rory, but he's a young man, massively into his boxing. Again, has his own disability, and he's very much trying to do his thing in Scotland. So I'm communicating with him at the moment, but there's other amateur boxing clubs trying to get into the thick of it. So it is one of these things, it's starting to pick up, more and more people getting involved in it, but not enough, you know. More people can do it, you know. I mean, with Louise Fay, when she does so every Thursday she'll do like our online session, and that will go out and it hits thousands of people, you know. It's amazing. You're talking about working with countries overseas, one of the blokes I'm working with, and I'm telling you now, I've said it, but it's worth a Google for half a ton of them, but this one, oh my days, Leo Samarelli. Oh my God. I mean, the man is amazing, right? So he used to be sparring partner for Levinchenko, and he's based in Canada, and he was Golden Gloves champion. He was about to go pro. And then 4 years, I think about 4 years ago, he was involved in a drive-by and he was shot 3-4 times, but the final bullet severed his spinal cord. So he's now in a wheelchair, and he'd been in a chair all of his life because he's got no feeling underneath. But he's created his own boxing brand out there, and he does his wheelchair boxing out in Canada, and I help support and promote him. But he is phenomenal. We're working with his organization to build like a wheelchair that is better equipped to be used if you're to do boxing in a chair. So we're working with this company, and that's going to come out soon, so I can't really say too much on that. But when he found out about that, he turned around and he went, if I can get over from Canada to Wales, could you see about getting me a chair or getting me fitted for a chair? I went, if you can get over to here, I will try and source out the funding and grants so we can pay for you to have a chair, right? 2 months later, he gets in contact with me and he says, just to let you know, I've raised 10 grand. I said, that's amazing. How'd you do that? He sent me the video. He climbed a mountain on his hands. So his coach held his legs and he climbed it on his bare hands. It's amazing. Honestly, when you check him out, when you see what this man does, it's like that. When you next do your podcast with somebody, he is your man. What a guy. Honestly, he is so inspirational and so humble with it. He's like one of the nicest blokes you'll ever meet in your life. I'm grateful for people like yourself, because you allow us a platform. So, and you do some great work, you know, so I've seen some of your podcasts and they're really, really good, you know, so thank you for allowing me my voice. And I know I talk a lot, but I blame that on the bipolar, so that's fine.
Well, I'm actually dyslexic and dyspraxic, so I just don't. This is probably the first time I've ever said it publicly. To be honest with you, it's mainly like something I keep within myself and the family and all that sort of stuff as well. But like, so I know how hard it is. I think you know, as you gave me a lot of praise, but at the end of the day, you're the type of work that you're doing for disabled, it's hitting home a lot, to be honest with you. But like the type of work you're doing for disabled people as well, it's just no one does that. I know you're saying all these people doing things like that, but nobody does it like on a consistent basis. That's the difference between a lot of things. Usually, like you're saying, usually it's for like summertime after school. That's when it is, you know, when college finishes, until it's usually like blocks, and then there's nothing, and then there's back. But you're consistently doing it all year round. So honestly, props to you, and anybody that watches this will be saying the exact same thing. You know, thank you to yourself for doing that for people that are disabled and things, to be honest.
But regarding yourself, I mean, look, fair play to you to open up and sort of turn around and like say you don't know me from Adam, and then to openly turn around and say I'm dyspraxic, dyslexic, right? Like with my bipolar, right? I don't see that as I wear that as like I wear it, my missus says I wear it like a sombrero. Terrible, but I see it's my superpower. You know, I manage it well with medication, and yeah, I do okay. But it allows me, when I'm working with other people with mental health, that we can openly talk about it, like, you know, and by you speaking out about your condition or what you've gone through, is that you celebrate it, because there could be some young boy or young girl on the other side of the screen watching that saying, well, do you know what? I can do it. I can do it. I've got that. I can do it. You know, so by you speaking out about it creates awareness. Not a shameful thing, my friend. Honestly, celebrate it, because you are where you are today because of you, you know, for the weight loss, everything else. Honestly, you should be commended. Honestly, you're an inspiration to a lot of young people who want to get into this line of work. So celebrate it, my friend.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I think with the weight loss, I became sober 9 years ago, and then that's when on the day I became sober was the day I changed everything, and then obviously like the story, and then but this was created. The reason I have spoken about this semi-publicly, but this is what this is for, to be put in. So for example, say the Inkylesconvo, the brand it's not like me, because I'm obviously Kyle, but it's not me. It's a brand. I want to turn it into a mentorship program, so that I can put people in. So for example, somebody would see this would come to us and be like, just for saying, you know, yourself's sake, you know, I want to be involved in boxing, like for just, you know, as a disabled person or something like that. How do you we put them in contact with you? But also we've had people on the show like, you know, Marcus Nash, he works for a football club. I want to be involved in a football club. We'll send them to him and be like, look, I'm sure he'll be able to help you. So turn it into a charity type thing. So I mean, like, I do appreciate what you're saying. That's I wouldn't say what I'm doing is anywhere near as admirable as what you're doing, though, considering ours is for everybody. Yours is like, it's giving people, I think what you're doing as well is why I wanted to get you on my show so desperately, is because you're giving people a voice that and an ability to do something necessarily get looked on differently by people. That's something that's admirable. You know what I mean? The way the podcast is going, obviously it's helping people that, like you're saying, and again, I appreciate everything you've said in that it's helping people get a platform to express themselves, to talk about whatever, because I'll have anybody on the show. As long as you've got something a story about you or someone to talk about, I'll have you on, or something that we can talk about. I'll have anybody on, but it's giving people that platform. But the fact you're doing it for people that just society looks down on is I've never understood why, to be honest with you, but it's so admirable. It's so admirable, to be honest with you.
It's true. It is, like I say, society, it is wrong. I mean, one of the examples that Louise turned around and said to me, so I've had a sports wheelchair made for myself, and she turned around and she went, how are you finding using it in the gym? I said, yeah, it's really good, really good. She went, have you been to a supermarket in it yet? I went, no, why? Should I? She went, try it, see how you find it. And I tell you what, it wasn't until I went into there, and for me, I'm not saying for everybody, but for me, you just felt so much smaller. I mean, my anxiety went through the roof. You got people behind you tutting and huffing. There's products that you can't really reach up to, so you're either looking around for somebody to get it, and you're like, you're like that. It's amazing how much we take for granted, you know. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have a moan through life, but I mean, that again, this is another prime example of joy with my group. So we do the boxing, and I promote that if anybody's having a tough time, bad day, just get off your chest, you know. Don't ever hold anything in. Nothing, you know, anything can be shared, you know. You're not a lesser person, because when you live with like a chronic illness or whatever, you feel guilty if you turn around and go, oh, I'm in pain today, because you feel like your family hear that all the time. So you'll just keep it to yourself, you know. So it's a celebration. So like, just get it off your chest. There's this one little boy we've got, and he's got spina bifida, and I've got two autistic boys, two young boys, who are just straight as a die. You know, there's no messing, and that's what I love about some disabilities, is that the brute honesty. Love it. So all the mums are sat round and they're watching, and we've just done our training session. We're doing our cool down, and he turned around and said to my little boy with spina bifida, he turned around, he went, so what's your problem then? And he turned around and he went, oh, I've got spina bifida. And he went, well, what's that then? And he went, well, and his mum turned around, she went, you don't have to. He went, no, mum, it's fine, it's fine. I want to talk about it. He went, right. He said, so if I eat or I drink, he said, if I eat, my brain could get confused and I could choke and I could die. And he said, and if I drink, I could choke or I could die. He said, so because my brain gets confused. So what I've got, and he lifted up his top, and he's got a tube and his stomach, and he turned around and he went, that's how I get nutrients into me. It goes through that way. And then the autistic kid turned around and went, so why are you wearing a nappy then? And he went, oh, because sometimes I have accidents, you know. He went, it's one of those things, can't feel down there, I have accidents. He went, you should live with it. So with that, you can hear all the other mums talking, and like, oh, fair play to him, I'll check him out. And then the autistic kid turned around and he went, what's your leg curly like a what's it? And I was like, oh my God, just like that. This poor kid is just being quizzed and quizzed and quizzed and quizzed. And he turned around, he went, oh, he said a couple of years ago, he went, I was in bed and the bed sheet wrapped around my leg. And when I rolled over, I snapped my thigh. And then with that, his mum come over, and it's like, she was upset, but she was like supporting him. And she took over, she turned around, she went, his leg was like discolored, swollen. We thought he was going to lose it, but he's had plates, pins in it now. So that's why it's the shape it is now. And he's just got this big smile on his face. And she turned around, she went, can I just say this quickly? She went, my son is what, 12 now. She went, he has never ever done sport in his life. And she went, what is also special is that he now feels like he's part of a community. And she was like, oh, I can't thank you enough for it. And this boy, honestly, as soon as you see him, Dalton, he comes in and he gives you the best hug in the world. He's just an absolute darling, such a character. He said to me a couple of weeks ago, he went, I've never met my dad. I went, oh mate, that's tough. He said, no, I've never met him. I said, well, I'll tell you what, that's his loss. I said, because you're an absolute superstar. He went, can you do me a favor? I said, what's that? He went, could you be my dad? And I was like, I don't know what the wife will say, but I said, I'll always be your coach and I'll always be there and I'll always be in your corner. I said, but I I don't know about the dad thing. And the mum was just dying. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, not at all. Not at all. But that's just the joy that you get from all of them. Like you say, I'm the lucky one. Like the feel good that they leave me with each week is just immense.
It's like, the thing is as well is that I look at it as well as, because everybody deals with negativity differently, and everybody gets negativity. It doesn't matter what you do. I'm sure even somebody will think of negativity yourself. Everybody does it, right? But it's like I worked on the doors for a long time as a bouncer. Obviously, that was a eventful job. But anyway, that job's, yeah. Anyway, thank God I don't do that anymore, to be honest. But yeah, I did that, and the name calling and stuff, it never used to bother me. And people used to always ask them, like, why does that bother you? And I'd be like, because like it's nothing really, like, I don't have anything that I should feel like not bad for, but like that I should have like any regrets for, because I can still go to the gym every day, I can still drive my car, I can still, like, what do I have to complain about? Like, yeah, they're calling you names. It's like, but that's their problem though. Like, this is the thing. It's, you can't, like, it's like them. I bet you none of your kids will ever say, I hate being disabled, I hate being that. They embrace it. You have to embrace everything. You know what I mean? That's like you were saying, it's with me being dyslexic and dyspraxic, I embrace it. I always make fun of myself, right? But I'm better at certain things than other people. That's all it is. Like, they'll be better at your kids will be better at some stuff that maybe we're not good at. That's the thing. This is, well, everybody has that niche in it, kind of type thing.
Definitely, you adapt, and like, you've adapted through life. Something's challenged you. You've adapted to overcome it to get what you do. And that's what you get when you work with these kids and young adults, is that they have had it tough, far tougher than any able mainstream kids, and they get on with it because they've got no other choice. And their resilience and their strength is, if you could bottle it, oh my God, you'd be a millionaire. You'd be a millionaire. They're just absolutely amazing. But it's just, they need more voices. They need more support. They need more opportunities. Is that they've got so much more to offer than just doing voluntary stuff after school once they finish school, because they can't go on to that next piece of education or employment, or all they can do is push trolleys around in a supermarket. I know there's more people of inclusion within jobs, within society, but is there enough? No, not even by a long stretch, and it's giving people a voice, an opportunity.
In Perth or Asda, the biggest is huge. One of the security guys there is in a wheelchair. Probably one of that job, and then maybe like one other job that when I've been in Perth that have people with disability in their in their environment. The rest of them don't. It's like, again, it's not. They're not. I don't feel they're looked. Totally with you as well. No. I don't feel like they're looked on. And it's something I don't. It'd be interesting to see how you feel on this one, actually. When I go to, because currently in college, going to uni and stuff, but at college, I know that the disabled people are held in a different section, like a completely like away from everybody. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that, and it's not, obviously I'm not education. I'm nobody up there, but I do personally think that they should be next to us, like next to what we're doing, because how do they get into blend in with society if they're getting shunted away somewhere to a different building, and then when they go in society, like you're saying, they don't know how to adapt, they don't know how to feel in that. It's completely wrong. It's completely the wrong.
It's backwards going forwards, and like you say, there's so many places where you'll go into, like say, whether it be a pub, supermarket, clothing brand shop, and there won't be that much inclusion within wherever you go to look. And statistically, 1 in 4 people are disabled, so there's so many out there, but there's so many people with disabilities that fall straight into the care sector, and that's just their life. And the thing is, life is a gift, we only get one shot at it. There's no second coming, so we only get one shot, and you should be able to embrace it and enjoy it as much as you can. you know. So, and that's why I try and push it for sport, because again, sport should be enjoyed and embraced and loved by all. Simple as that. Because sport just brings so much happiness to people, you know. So why shouldn't everybody enjoy it or get a taste of it?
I think
So
one of my favourites, a huge weightlifter now, is obviously, you can imagine people that lose weight, they just never leave the gym. It's honestly a drug. It's crazy. But anyway, I'm a huge I like watching disabled and well, I wouldn't say people in wheelchair are disabled. That's the thing. I just think they're just not abilities. So wheelchair basketball. Have you ever watched it before?
oh mate,
That's
honestly,
the way they can have the ball and the tire at the same, and they're able to switch hands. I don't. It's incredible. It's so much.
it's
That's amazing to
insane.
watch. Yeah.
Wheelchair tennis, that for me, that, I mean, that is just something else.
Yeah.
You know, you've got wheelchair tennis, you've got wheelchair rugby. I mean, they call that murder ball, and that is just ruthless when they go smashing into each other. You know, it's insane. You know,
It's like
so
blind running as well. How you get the guy that's blind, and they're usually attached by the wrist, and that's it. The guy has a band, and that's it. There's nothing else, and they still manage to run actually straighter than the guy that's beside them.
yeah,
They're still running straighter than. It's incredible.
and
Some of those guys are
it's
just
just pure
stupid fast as
trust.
well. Oh yeah, big time.
Well, one of the things that I'm doing tomorrow, I'm working with Disability Sports Wales. So we've got half term. So I open the club up during the day, and I do amateur boxing for free in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I do inclusion for free all this week. But tomorrow, we're doing this thing with Disability Sports Wales in Milford, and it's going to be in the leisure centre. And I've done it before with them, and it's amazing. There's a lady called Angela Miles, phenomenal. She sets it up, and there's just a whole mix of different sports that you can do, and everybody comes in and they get an allotted time. So it's for the inclusion community. So these young children will get to come in, and they'll get to do wheelchair basketball, rugby, some of like the javelin, shot putting, skittles, and then I've got my own boxing section. So I've got that to look forward to tomorrow. So yeah, it's fab.
The thing is, like I think it'd be a good question for actually a lot of people that because imagine some of your kids will be watching this, will obviously want to see you and stuff. How do you see, you've had a lot, obviously I'm guessing your days are probably really long in that, and see when you're sitting down and that, as you're saying, with your wife and stuff, how do you reflect on everything you're doing? That's it's probably a really tough question, but how do you because everything you're doing so much, so how, like, for people and helping people and doing stuff that if you weren't doing it, these kids would not have the platform that you've done. So how do you then sit and reflect about what you do for them?
When we got the Parasport Award last year, Aled Davies came in, triple gold medal winner in Tokyo. And when he came in, and what was so great about it, it was focused on all the kids and all the adults. And I love that. And when we got the Scouts Award, first time Scouts gave the award to an organisation outside their own, they came in, they celebrated about the kids. When I got Coach of the Year, I struggle with it. I find it overwhelming. I'm not good when the focus is on me. So when I just focus on knowing that, well, I've got that session, I'm working with those kiddies tomorrow, I'm good with acknowledging that I can work with them and I'm doing their bit. But when I look back and think that I'm not good with self-praise, I'm not good with it at all. So I don't think about it. And like I say, when I got Coach of the Year, I just completely clowned up because I was like, I'm not good with the attention on me. I'll give you a prime example, right? So when it was my 40th birthday, my wife knows I love Halloween and the horror genre. We've done the whole house in like all Halloweeny stuff. It was amazing. We had like boards on the windows with like zombie hands coming out. I dressed up as Teen Wolf, but I was that overwhelmed with it because people would come in there for my birthday. I sat in the front room watching Strictly for about an hour, just an absolute mess, because I'm not good with attentions on me. Not good with it at all. Oh, sorry, I've got my ginger dog trying to break in.
That's all good.
Um,
People already know that listen to this. You can hear my cat and stuff like that, and my dog, and that they always scrape and stuff. Honestly, so many people tell me about that. By the way, they at the end of the podcast, they're always like, "Yeah, do you know I could hear your dog scratch?" I'm like, honestly, I just leave it in nowadays. It happens so much. I'd have to edit so much of it out, but it's honestly, don't worry. It's curious. No, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's just I was curious about that because with working in a community environment, for example, with my mum actually works in care. She works in a care home, and the praise she gets, she doesn't think about what she does all the time because it's hard because it triggers like an emotion into you, be like, you know, you're helping so many people, you're putting yourself out there. So it would, I guess it would be quite hard for yourself to sit down one day and like obviously not in silence, obviously even with your wife, coffee, you know, maybe like a pint, maybe have a pint or something like that, and you're just sitting down, you'd be like, I wonder like what everything would be like with it if I wasn't doing it. That's the thing. I know you're saying all these other people are doing it, but you're probably setting the example. So this is the thing. So if you weren't doing it, nobody would have what they have effectively, especially in your area, like you're saying, quite deprived. So they would just wouldn't have it. They just wouldn't have it. So it is really admirable. It is really admirable.
Well, I'm open with obviously with the investment and doing what we're doing and creating opportunity, working in opportunities for people with disabilities. So it's going to be a community project for disabilities, run by people with disabilities. And obviously we got the amateur boxing side of thing. We got good coaches there. But I'm hoping with people being able to shadow me, seeing how I interact with people, that people have their own ideas and their own spin on it. And they'll be able to take what I've done and achieved, because I won't be able to do it forever, and then be able to run with it and create their own model, you know? So, and that's what I try and say to all my kids and all my young guys is that one of the best things when I was in the forces, Les Otson, where my boss, I'm a huge fan of it. I've got such admiration for the man. He was like my forces dad. He's phenomenal. But he told me, and he said, when you go through life, look at him, look at her, look at him, look at her, and pick out the best bits in each person. And then if you can just put that into you and become the best person you can be, that's your first step in life. And I've always lived by that. So I pick up on, I'm like a magpie. So if somebody's doing something good or they act with somebody a certain way, I try and embrace that and bring that on myself, like, you know. So I'll try and better myself, you know. That's just it.
I really think, I honestly do think you creating I don't know if you've had it in your mind or not, but creating a YouTube channel or creating a podcast or something and being able to, because you can give people a platform like what I'm doing. I mean, I encourage people to have it, encourage people to have a voice as they know. People say, why are you trying to give people an information so they compete against you, but who cares about competing against people? You know what I mean?
Nobody would tune into me.
No, but like,
I look like Uncle Fester.
Where I was going with that as well is that you could end up making a platform for, like, you maybe have your kids come on. Do you know how great that would feel? Like, I obviously I understand the whole parental permission, and you'd probably have to get them to sign all this sort of stuff. But even having something like that, if the kids can come on and talk about stuff, or they can come on and like with yourself, and that you can set up the YouTube channel and use that as a platform. So it's another way of getting like your voice literally to, I think the average.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's what 10 billion watch hours a year goes into YouTube. That's what it was January to this year to January last year. Obviously, I get COVID and stuff, so there's a little bit of obviously people couldn't move in that. It was 10 billion watch hours. Even if some of that was going to yourself, it's a great, because then it documents it and it stays there forever. This is the one, it's always constantly there.
Well, we have got our website, our Great Britain Disability Boxing website, and we're always thinking, wait, what can we add on to that? So obviously we've got Louise doing her videos once a week. So we're going to put them on there. So no matter what day of the week it is, somebody could click on there and do some seated exercises from home, like, you know. But I think that's a cracking idea that I've put onto there, and see if if any of my kids would be interested with running with it. I'd sooner see them up and running, doing with it than I talk too much as it is. and after time I'll play myself back and I'm like, oh my god, you sound awful.
I mean, I'm not
So
a big fan of listening to myself after I speak, to be honest with you. I have to kind of turn it down at me and turn it back up at the other person. And I do a podcast. So, I mean, you know.
but you got a cracking accent. No, honestly.
Yeah, that's
Obviously
fair
you got a
enough saying
perfect
that.
voice.
It's like when you go down, it's like when you go to different countries or you go down south, for example, like Newcastle or Liverpool, because you sound completely different from them. They all love your accent. It's like, well, I don't like it. Like this, I know so many people like that as well. It's crazy.
I think it's fair to say, no matter where I've been in the world, nobody's ever turned around and gone, do you know what? Oh, Christ, you sound amazing. I just sound like a camp Danny Dyer. It's shocking.
What an example of yourself.
And that's no slur on Danny.
Oh, no. This bit is definitely getting clipped though. So if you see this on Instagram, hilarious. I might actually tag Danny in it. But yeah, so for yourself then,
Yeah.
I'm curious for yourself. Have you ever thought about writing? I know you said you don't like, you know, like for example, they've been around you and that type of that kind of like the center of attention type thing. But have you ever thought about writing a book about what you've done over the years and things like that? Don't ask me how to write a book because I don't know. But
No.
you could you ever thought about doing something like that? Even sitting down with somebody properly to be like, this is what it is on.
No.
No?
I mean, I've got like there's a gentleman that I know, John Hilton, who's gone for an amazing life through being in the armed forces, who's since come out. He's lost his leg, and he does some amazing work for charity and Limbless Association. And he is going to be looking about doing his memoirs, and I salute him for it. But I'm not at. No. For me, I look at my life now is that I want to bring out the best in other people. So it's about their journey. You know, I'm not saying I'm dead and buried and that's me done. You know, I get more pleasure, enjoyment through watching other people grow and their stories. You know, I know I've waffled on about myself this evening, but yeah, I'd sooner just sit down and like listen to yourself and how you was working on the door and your journey, how you've got to where you've got now. That's what drives me. I get more out of that.
I mean, yeah, there's a few things that I've been thinking about recently about, because not a lot of people can say that as I've already said my age, but I'll soon be 28, and not a lot of people will be able, next January I'll be able to say that 10 years sober at 28. Not a lot of people can say that. And obviously when people think of that, they're like, wait a minute, 18 sober, hold on. There's lots to that story, but that's a confusing, weird story. But yeah, and obviously again, but with me though, that's myself and my story. But like yourself, you're helping loads of people with stories. That's the difference. Like you're probably impacting the parents as well. Like this is the thing as well. Have you ever actually, just because obviously, have you ever had parent come up to you and tell them how much you've affected them with what you're doing? Obviously in a positive.
Yeah, I've got a boy called Brandon. So Brandon, he's got a condition. He's the first boy to have this condition since 1914. When he was born with half a brain. So it affected his mobility. When I first met him, he used a walker. And since we've been working together, his cognitive skills have got so much better. And his mum has turned around again. Like I say, I will send you videos of Brandon, Shannon, and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I'll send that to you. And yeah, she's turned around and she's like that. I've made a difference to his life, but I'm like just all these little people that come through, like you say, your Shannons, me being in their life. That's just one person. You know, I mean, obviously they've got their family, got their friends, and all that, and they're saying I've impacted. Again, I look at, I'm just this magpie because I've got Brandon, I've got Ben, I've got Shannon, I've got all these different people, and I'm like I am just so lucky, so lucky. So, like I say, they have changed my life. You know, they have changed my life 100 billion%. You know, it's like is like the gift that keeps on giving. You know, I cannot wait on a Thursday to see my guys. You know, they're just amazing, all of them. And for the people that I've not even met yet, that I haven't had the opportunity to, but I'll try. Shannon, like I say, she's in the Star College in England, and I'm currently going through the process with their headmaster that I can go down there on a weekend, and I'll go down there sometime this year, and I'll stay a whole weekend, and I'll just teach inclusion boxing for free to any kid with a disability or young adult who wants to learn it. You know, look, say when you're working with people like that, it's just, yeah, it's just joy.
You're devoting your life to helping people, that the impact you'll have on that person, that will be like, if they were to tell you, it would like, as I say to people, it would break you down into tears and stuff if they were to actually literally sit down with you and tell you everything. That's the thing is, as well, is that the people don't understand that people with disabilities as well, again, you're making them have a meaning. This is the thing, because if they can't go to a job, or if they can't, you know, they feel like they're a bit, you know, this person's looking at me, that person's looking at me. They can literally come to your boxing, and literally nobody's going to look down on them. Nobody's going to, that's the thing. They're going to feel like a community, like a family, like you're saying, that guy asked you to be his dad, which
100%.
is unbelievably sweet, to be honest. But he felt comfortable. This is the thing, you know, he felt comfortable enough to ask that. I bet that was hard for him. This is the thing as well. It's
definitely.
crazy.
Oh, definitely. But like say that it becomes, any boxing coach will always say that anybody who's in your boxing club is part of your family, you know, because it's a complete, it's hard to explain. I've been involved with football, and I used to take my kids' football team, but I've always been dedicated to boxing. Being a boxing coach is, I don't know if it's just biased or whatever, but it's a completely different relationship from being a coach through any other sport, from being a team sport. So anybody that does come through your doors, whether they're able or disabled, you're all part of that family. But my inclusion guys, when they turn up on a Thursday, like I say, they don't just turn up just to sort of take part. They turn up to join in. And if half my amateur boxers trained as hard as them, then I'd have loads of kids going through to Team GB. Not a problem at all. Honestly, the atmosphere is just amazing. My favorite one, right? So Angelo Giaccone, he come down and he said, I'm going to help you with the seniors, can do a bit of pad work and all that. So yeah, no problem. And we had about 30 guys in there, all different sexes, all different disabilities. What I did not warn him is we've got this amazing fella called Ben, who's got Down syndrome. And again, he gives the best hugs as well. So whenever we're training, halfway through, he will just shout out on the top of his lungs, "I've the tiger." And as soon as he does, oh my God, it sets them all off. They all turning at each other like that, "Come on!" And they train even harder. So, but I didn't warn Angelo of this. So he's there doing pads, and I'm in the ring and I'm doing pads as well. And so one of the Rocky soundtrack comes on, and that's it. Ben turns around, looks at everybody, "I have the tiger, come on!" And that's it. It just set them all off, and everybody's all looking at each other, "Come on!" And Angelo looks at me, and he was white, and he went, "What do I do?" I went, "What?" He said, "What do I do?" I went, laugh, embrace it. It's joy. And that was it. Every time he shouted out, "I the tiger," that was it. It's just weak. Angelo's actually said to me, he can't watch Rocky without thinking about Ben anymore. You know, it's just, absolute legend.
That is funny. The thing that, again, so say like so say someone's coming in like to volunteer, like to shadow yourself because they want to be involved in something like that. Just as add on them, is that how you would like coach them? Because obviously for the first time, people might not want to know what to do. Might not know what to do, I should say. Is that what you tell them? Just like if something like that happens, you need to just like embrace it, don't think too much about it and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Human kindness, that there's not a book for it, you know. We do live in a very PC world now where you can't be seen to see this, you can't be seen to say that. You know, as long as you stay in that middle lane and you're respectful and you're kind, then you'll never go far wrong, you know. And that's what we endorse and we promote within Pembroke Boxing Club, whether it's Chronic Warriors or it's Great Britain Disability Boxing. That is what we promote, is just be kind, you know, just be kind, because it doesn't matter what your ability, disabled, non-disabled, nobody knows what's going on behind those eyes, you know, to take that time to learn about that person, those people's skills. So I regularly put young people through coaching courses and help them onto their next steps. And then last year, well, I put two of my guys, one who's a lower limb amputee, who's a chair user, and that's Paul, and then Jay, who's an upper limb amputee and lower limb amputee, and I put them both through a coaching course last year. And the bloke who took it turned around and said, A, that's the first time I've ever done that with somebody with a disability before. And he said, and B, it made me rethink about boxing, because I had to adapt, because I was teaching, but I can't teach that way because that man's a chair user. So I can't say about foot placement. So how can I best say to about place it? And he said, it made me fall back in. He said, I love boxing, but fall back in love with it, because I'm just thinking about, how do I do that? How do I do that? How do I do that? And that's the joy of it. Create opportunities, give opportunities, you know, but always be kind.
And, you know, what's like, you know, again, we've said what's going to happen with your facility and all this sort of stuff in yourself, which is so overwhelming, to be honest. But what's your, well, I won't say 5-year plan, because nobody really knows what's going to happen in 5 years. But what we'll say, like, what's your future plans, like over the, not, I'm not talking like, I mean like years, that type of thing. What's your plans for, whether it be yourself, whether it be the boxing, what's your plan?
So the big, for me, the big 5-year plan, and obviously with Great Britain disability boxing, is that working with England, Wales and Scotland, that we can be recognised underneath a national governing body, and that we can help other clubs become inclusive. And that is my 5-year plan. And if with my facility, if it could go as well as what we're hoping it will go, is that hopefully that could be the blueprint for other clubs, because so many sporting facilities closed through COVID, and they closed not just because of COVID, but because of financial times, because we live in very expensive times. But by working with different organizations, I work with a weightlifting group, I work with the Scouts, by creating a community environment where you're helping and supporting different sports and different activities, you can actually grow together, instead of saying, boy, I'm going to be that entity and this is all mine, I'm going to keep it all to myself. By sharing it with like-minded people, you can equally grow, you know. So that for me would be the goal, is that we can create this blueprint and help support other people, like, you know.
So, like, for example's sake, then, what would, so as some, again, honestly speechless, but which is very unusual for me. But when, as you can imagine, we're being a podcast, but yeah, what's your information to somebody that's watching this right now that's disabled and that's not sure what to do, and that's not in your area? Because obviously I would just say, you know, go to you, for example. What would your information be to somebody that could be anywhere in the world? Because this goes out, you know, we have a huge audience in the United States, so this goes out over there. So what would your information to be to somebody that's disabled and wants to get involved in the boxing or even sport, but they've no idea what to do to start with?
Well, that's just it. So not even just disabled. So for me, the target, the group that I want to see it more so, are those amateur boxing clubs,
Mhm.
are those organizations who have just done able-bodied sports for so long, but not been able to open their doors to inclusion. That's the type that's the market I want it to hit, is for those people to say, well, yeah, we can do that. We can open our doors. We can become more inclusive. We could put somebody through a training course so they can do this. We can have disability toilets or better accessible access for people who get into, and that's what creates those opportunities for those people with a disability to find out that this organization has become inclusive. So, and anybody with a disability, so with our organization, every now and then I'll get a message of people from Scotland, from Mid Wales, from England, from Plymouth, get in contact with me, and they go, oh, do you know where there's an inclusion boxing club? And that is one thing I can promise anybody, is that anybody who gets in contact with me, I will go out of my way to find out the closest facility for you to do boxing. And if you can't find it and it's not there for you, then there's plenty of online material that has been created with Louise Fay, with her Chronic Warriors and everything. And she's a fantastic online coach, so yeah, that's how I would get it out there. But for me, it's creating more awareness within amateur boxing clubs to say that you can do it. It's not going to be for everybody. There's some clubs that spit and sawdust, they're upstairs or something that they won't be wheelchair accessible, but that's only one disability. Doesn't mean that you can not open it up to others,
Yeah.
so
So where can people get in contact? Obviously, as everybody knows, at the very end, I always get everybody's social medias, because it's the easiest thing to do, and because instead of being spread out and people forget and stuff. So it will all be in the description, and also going to do something different. Obviously, I know you're going to send me videos and stuff, so I'll speak to you about that after. But this podcast will be very different for people that, if you're listening to this on whatever you listen to it nowadays, you'll need to watch the podcast just for specific things. But and all the articles will be in the description of yourself, and anything else I can fit in there. But what is your social medias, as well as other people that I can put down, and anything that I can put down there to help people find you?
Yeah, so you can either again, I'm such a dinosaur, so but I've only just got onto LinkedIn, and I don't probably use that to the best of its ability. But you can find me on Facebook with Pembroke and Pembroke Dock Amateur Boxing Club. Big red dragon on it, you can't miss it. You can also find me on Great Britain Disability Boxing, and obviously I've got my own page like Chris McEwen, so you can find me on there. And it's the same with LinkedIn, so Pembroke Boxing Club, Great Britain Disability Boxing, and that's how you get hold of me.
Awesome, yeah. Now, again, I honestly appreciate your time as well, because I can realize, like, for people that don't know, it is 9:30 at night. So, and I'm not that busy enough, done training that. I'm fine. I can manage my time, because I didn't have that much to do today. But your schedule is, as I can imagine, is extremely busy. So I really do appreciate your time. It means a lot. You gave me like the time. I think it was an hour and a half to come on and talk this. That does mean a lot. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity and a platform. So no, thank you.
Yeah, it's my complete honor. And again, everybody that's listening to this, will need to come and watch it for stuff that we're going to discuss off camera and things that you will definitely need to watch it. So all I say now. But again, thank you very much. Thank you for 120 subscribers or something like that. Whatever it is, it's mental. The growth is crazy. But thank you very much, and thank you very much again.
Cheers, man.
You've been listening to Inkylesconvo.